Super Smash Brother creator Masahiro Sakurai, sorry, I always say his name wrong, encourages Japanese developers to pursue the kind of games Japanese people love instead of adapting. See, it's not all bad news here. We got a very based as all hell developer with years of incredible experience encouraging Japanese developers. I mean, they see what's going on in the West and they're like, hey guys, don't go down that road. Careful. That's a virus. Don't want to get too close to that one. Don't touch it. It will infect you. So this continued over here on this website called Automation Media. And it says, Super Smash Bros. Creator Masahiro Sakurai encourages Japanese developers to pursue the kind of games Japanese people love instead of adapting. In recognition of his extensive Masahiro Sakurai on Creating Games YouTube channel, the Super Smash Bros. And Kirby creator Sakurai was recently awarded the Art Encouragement Prize with the Japanese Government Agency for Cultural Affairs. On March 11th, he attended the award ceremony and gave an exclusive interview to NTAX. So when I go to NTAX, this was all in Japanese, but Google didn't auto-translate to it. But this was it here. And it says, make it how you want and let people who can accept it enjoy it. AKA, don't make a game for everyone. Make it how you want to make it. And if it connects with gamers, they will embrace it the way it always has worked. So this is the actual website from it, but it's translated directly from Japanese. So I'm going to go back to this one because it's probably going to be in better English, in which he shared his personal views about the future of Japan's industry. When asked about what he thinks about the domestic game industry should be doing to keep growing, to keep pace with the booming success seen in countries like China, Sakurai comments, it's not really my own idea, but as an industry trend, I think Japanese people should keep pursuing the things that Japanese people like. Looks like Nintendo can be marked safe from Marxism for at least another day. He goes on to explain that the success of various Japanese games in the US kicked off a trend of making Americanized works, or Sakurai notes, you could say that there's a culture of following de facto standards. By de facto standards, he's referring to practices that get adopted as widespread norms by the industry as an outcome of market competition. However, Sakurai feels that people overseas who love Japanese games aren't looking for this kind of filtered experience, but rather, I think they seek the uniqueness and fun of Japanese games. Holy shit. Yes. Like, this is the fall of America when it comes to gaming, is because very rarely, if ever, can you think of a wholly owned United States game company that puts out a game that you're like, that was a great game. I want more of that. And you see the reason why is the nepotism in the game industry. I've talked about it a million times, but just like how Firewalk Studios had a bunch of indoctrinated people, people with ideologies, pronouns, all this stuff. Microsoft's the same way, pronouns everywhere. Trans, gay, women, like whatever. It is what it is. But when you start to put the pieces together and all these people seem to continue to fall into that same bucket of how they think and how they operate, you got to take a step back and wonder, okay, so none of these people actually think for themselves. None of these people have an original thought or idea. They're actually not very talented at all. And you see that when they get laid off and they are lead developer on a massive AAA game and they're unemployed for 6+ months still. Oftentimes I've seen this happen. And instead of getting to work, doing what's necessary to prove yourself out there, creating your own studio or your own game idea, you continue to not work and go to GDC or other conferences, rub shoulders with other people in the industry and getting back into the, hey, I worked with you at Bungie, or I worked with you at Sony, or I worked with you at XYZ company. Do you guys have any openings? You know who I am. You can refer me there. You know I've worked in the industry, so I have experience, which might be true, but that doesn't mean you're good at what you do. That's the problem. People often think that just because you have years of experience, it gets conflated with you're good at what you do. The problem with DEI is it can bring somebody into the industry that should not have been there in the first place, that gets the job as a manager at Microsoft or whatever studio that was at the age of 21 because you have a vagina. And that's literally the only qualification of why you got the job in the game industry, is because you're a woman. That is the problem. These people work in the industry for decades after that, and they suck oftentimes. And then the company fails, spirals, studio burns to the ground. And then they're like, hey, it's okay. I got a great resume. I'll be safe. I'll be fine. That's the problem with DEI, is they don't actually earn it. They don't actually work to get to where they are. So we end up in a position where it's just like the wrong people are perpetuating in the game industry forward, further, even more and more. It's crazy. It's crazy. Anyways, that was a sidebar. He concludes on a general note, commenting, in other words, I think that the ideal would be to make games the way you like, as those who agree with you will enjoy them. Sakurai adds that it is vital for people in the industry to do things freely without letting others' ideas be forced on them. He emphasizes, however, that his opinion is just one way of thinking about the topic. Okay, so this is smart. So he's saying, hey, I'm not trying to ruffle feathers because I'm good, I'm cool, whatever. I just love the game industry, because this guy, he's got passion in the game industry, and he understands that the wokies are crazy. So he's like, hey, you guys can do what you want to do. That's fine. I think it's important for people to, whatever you guys are doing, to not do that. That's how I interpret this. But that is the long and the short of the Smash Brothers creator, who is basically, what I can gather, based as hell and wants the game industry to get back to its roots. Will it? Well, maybe in Japan. He does have a lot of pull in Japan. I feel like Western gaming has fallen, and it's going to take an Elon Musk type situation of buying a massive studio, just like Elon Musk bought Twitter and was like, yeah, no, we're gonna change this to X. We're gonna fire all these wokies and get to work here, and change the perception of the industry. It takes someone like that to fix an entire industry. And if that does happen, you can bet your ass there is a civil war brewing, not like a violent, like with weapons, but one of technicalities and working and earning money financially, working at these companies and being blackballed at some places. And it's a war that is an unspoken war. And I feel like that has not come to a peak yet. But if Elon Musk or someone very similar dives into the industry to completely shake it up, turn it on its head, and change the dynamic of all of it, we are in for a wild next couple decades. And I think at this point, that's the next step in evolution of where we're at right now. In my humble opinion. I could be completely wrong, but that's the way I see things going. Genetic Sport says, I'm afraid there is one of those brewing too, JT. It's not pretty in the political sphere. No, I agree. I think it's just one of those, yes, civil wars obviously have a lot of violence in them, but I think right now what I see happening is it's not so much of violence as more of a just like destruction of property destruction of trying to ruin people's lives and livelihood, that kind of stuff. And I've seen that personally in my own life, just growing the YouTube channel. I've had attack after attack after attack, especially it's ramped up over the past 2 years here. But for the first 5 years of the channel, it was pretty easy going overall. There were a couple hiccups here and there, but as the channel started to grow rapidly, I've seen more and more, and I'm not just talking about a specific ex Kotaku journalist. I've seen it from randoms on the internet as well. People pushing false stories about me, false narratives, uh, telling wrong stories about me, things like that, where I'm like, no, none of that's true. I have people accuse me of doxing people and stuff like that. I'm like, I've never done that. Like these are the things that get thrown out there. It's like these are dangerous things to be saying about people just flippantly. It blows my mind, but it's kind of that's where we're at. And I do understand the more the channel grows, the more I'm going to have to deal with that kind of stuff. And it is what it is. I'm kind of at this point, I'm at peace with it. But I'll leave that topic there. I think this is a very good step in the right direction, and I'm very curious to see what happens next with that.